We are Bradey and Heather, and we just bought an 18-acre piece of wooded property to build our home on. But there's one hurdle standing in our way, and that's finding a place to build the house. We got a quote for $38,000 to clear a spot for the home. So we decided to tackle things ourselves and dive headfirst into taking down some of these trees, despite having any experience.
I cannot believe that they rent these things to people who have no idea what they're doing.
As well as milling up the wood into lumber to build the home. The question is, can we do it? Or have we taken on more than we can handle?
Oh no, that's not good.
All right, so today my dad has driven over his old Wood-Mizer sawmill. We're gonna spend the next couple of days milling up the trees that we've taken down to use that lumber to build the house. So if you're at all aware of the cost of lumber these days, then you'll know how exciting this is to be able to mill our own lumber on site, and just to see the initial quality of this first log coming off, man, it's gonna be awesome. Just look at this wood. I believe this is maple. Impressions of this wood.
It's gorgeous.
Yeah?
Yeah, I've never cut this before, this type of wood.
We've been having conversations and planning for what we're gonna be cutting today, cutting over the next couple of days. We're keeping our eye out for some large beams. We really wanna have some aesthetic beams in the ceiling of the house, as well as, of course, just a lot of trim work, which is what we are currently milling up. So it's not just the pristine logs that we're milling up. There's quite a few down trees, old logs that have been rotting on the ground for a while. We're gonna go ahead and mill some of them up and try to get chunky 6x6, 8x8 beams, just for building a few structures outside, as well as for now, just a platform to put all of the good material on, to be able to then easily pick it up with the skid steer, move it around, and shift things around like that.
At this point, you can decide, does it have a solid enough edge where you could throw, a sticker on it and get your piles up and just use it on the ground, forget about it.
Yeah,
because it's not probably good enough to put in some kind of structure because of all of this.
Yeah.
But you've got flat edges at least where you could just take it over, we'll level it out for for storing the logs on, or for storing the lumber on.
All right, so before we go any further, we're gonna pause. My dad's gonna finally teach me how to sharpen a chainsaw. I know you guys have been harassing me about my chain being way too dull, and the reality is that I'm just really terrible at sharpening them, and he's got a really unique way to keep his chain nice and sharp.
All right, so basically you're just taking the Dremel tool, you're gonna hold it in line with that line that you see on the tooth. It's kind of a reference line.
You use the Dremel tool every time you sharpen it, or just for every single time?
Every time. It's just so fast. You just hit it a little bit until I see that front edge straightens out. You've got a lot of, you've hit a lot of stuff with these, so it might take a couple sharpenings to get that point back, because this doesn't take off a ton of material. I'm just trying to concentrate on keeping it as perpendicular as possible.
Man, this week is gonna end up being so special for me, not just because I get to hang out with my dad all weekend long and we get to mill up some beautiful lumber for the house, but for the sheer amount that I'm gonna be learning. There's so much that he's gonna be able to teach me over this next week, how to mill lumber, how to take care of the forest. Actually, later on, we have a forestry expert coming over to teach us how to take care of the forest as well. But as my dad's been walking around looking at all of these walnut trees, he's telling me to cut off the branches to allow them to grow in a certain way and to trim down some of the brush around it, and just giving all kinds of information to help take care of the forest, as well as how to mill up this lumber, which the log that we have sitting up here right now is walnut, and I can't wait to cut this guy open. You guys remember when my dad and my mom came and visited us in Italy? My dad went with me to the local sawmill to pick out the walnut, and that's what we've been making the furniture there with. But here we've got access to all kinds of walnut, and to be milling it here on site with my dad is just a very special experience. This color is just gorgeous, and while this is just a small log, we're gonna get some 1-bys out of this. We've got some much larger ones later on to mill up over there.
So just that little walnut log is 41.16 board feet of lumber.
Out of that one
log. So if you go based on an average, walnut will sell from $8 a board foot dried up to $12 a board foot dried. So even if we err on the low side and say $8 a board foot, there's $328 just in that one log.
On the lowest side, 330 bucks of lumber in the last 20 minutes. So all of the walnut here will save for furniture grade. This is gorgeous black walnut. And then all of the whitewood, which maple or who knows what this is. We're not exactly sure what this is, but it's beautiful. This will be for trim work. So I need to be feeding him constantly new logs to be milled up, and most of them are back in the forest. And while this tree I had to knock down, one, just because it was in the way of the road. I need a 12-foot wide road to be able to drive the trees back and forth to be able to get to him. So I gotta mill this guy up, but I kind of made a mess of it when I dropped it. So this maple tree has been on the ground for who knows how long. What do you think? Like a year, 6 months or so?
Probably 6 months to a year.
But look how beautiful it is. Like, it's got a lot of really cool character to it. What was that ambrosia thing you were telling me about?
Yeah, there's an ambrosia beetle that gets into them. And so you'll get these dark streaks in. This doesn't have it much at all. It's just got one little ambrosia beetle hole in it. But sometimes you'll get them all up the tree. And you might find the base log of that tree is full of it.
So much of this lumber I thought would be kind of waste material, something to build sheds out of, or animal shelter, or some other kind of outdoor structure that wasn't inside of the house, just because they've been laying on the ground so much. But as my dad's been cutting them open, as we've been looking at them, this is trim quality lumber that we didn't even have to cut trees down for, that was just lying on the ground. And as we've been cleaning up the forest, picking them up, we're capturing high quality maple trim for the house, which is really, really exciting. Dad, I know everyone's gonna wonder, where did you get all of your experience from? How do you know everything about trees and how to mill trees and how to build houses? Where did you get your experience from?
Every day, plugging away a little, learning a little bit, never stop learning, because there's always something you can learn.
Yeah.
I don't know it all, believe me.
How young were you when you built the first log home?
I built the first log home with my dad when I was 14. So, and we were responsible for peeling all the logs, for preserving them, for you know, getting them ready to install and then installing the logs. But that was fun stuff back in the day when we were just young kids. Dad started us out doing that.
All right, so we're taking a break and coming out to the long-term build site. We're gonna use this opportunity to start taking down some of the trees around the build site, bringing them over, mill it up. It's gonna be a big project. There's a lot to take down here. A lot of trees that are dead, a lot of trees that should be coming down, and then of course, some good healthy trees that we can use to mill up and build the house with. Number one, this tree right here that's leaning so hardcore, that needs to come down. It's about ready to fall over. So if this is the road that goes up to the house, we probably should drop these two small ones, yeah?
But maybe take out this one and that one.
All right, so this guy's gotta go just for the road, the sake of the road, bringing trucks back here and whatnot. So we've got the build site marked out here just loosely with this caution tape, just to get an idea of the size of the house and the perimeter. And then we're measuring about 30 feet, 35 feet out from that, and we'll be using the excavator to knock that down. We are gonna maintain trees fairly close to the house just for an aesthetic appeal, and we want to not take out too many of the trees. But I'll talk to you more about that later in terms of how that's safe. Number one, we're building a concrete house with a concrete ring surrounding that house. So any trees that may fall down and hit the house, well, they're just gonna bounce right off of it. It's not gonna be an issue at all. This is gonna be a house that lasts for the next 500 years. We're not exactly concerned with trees hitting it, but we'll talk to you about the design of the house at a later point and why that's not a concern. So really quick, allow me a brief moment to remind you guys about the importance of protecting your personal data while online, and to tell you about today's video sponsor, Delete Me. Delete Me is a hands-free service that removes your personal information from hundreds of data brokers and people search sites, reducing the risk of your personal information ending up in the wrong hands. If you aren't aware, there are data brokers out there that their sole job is to collect as much personal information about you, things like your home address, your personal cell phone number, your email address, and other personal items, and then they package all of that information up and sell it off to the highest bidder, whether that's to advertisers or to scammers. If you've been getting a lot of those annoying spam phone calls or those phishing emails, this can be one of the core reasons why, but with the help of Delete Me, you can have this information removed. Within 7 days of joining, you'll get a privacy report showing where all of your information is left public, and then Delete Me will go to work having that removed. Right now, if you also want to join Delete Me, you can get 20% off by going to joindeleteme.com/Voyagers, or by using the coupon code Voyagers at checkout, or simply by scanning the QR code on screen now. But with that, thank you so much to Delete Me for sponsoring today's video. So one difficulty we faced in Italy that was a constant struggle is not being able to rent equipment or machinery or tools. That was a complication with our visa setup that we talked about earlier. But being here, having full access to all kinds of machinery, this excavator behind me, this is a 9-ton excavator that we just had dropped off. This is gonna be crucial to taking down these trees. My dad and I both have an excavator to work on. We only have about $2,000 of cost into renting this, which is just mind-blowing to me because we're about to save $35,000. All right, so I cannot believe that they rent these things to people who have no idea what they're doing and just let them have it. This is a 9-ton machine, but I have plenty of experience watching Andrea work in Italy. How hard could it be, right? All right, so this lifts the blade. All right, so the main reason we are using an excavator to take down these trees is just simply because of safety. This will be so significantly safer than cutting down the trees. So while my dad is an absolute expert at taking down trees with a chainsaw, it's just not worth the risk. The more you mess around with that, the more you increase something serious happening. So we rented this excavator, and it's going to make quick work of taking down these trees as well as taking out the stumps in a single go. So we're going to dig around the stumps, push the trees over using leverage, and it'll rip the stumps out. It'll just make things a lot easier. I'm going to see what happens if I drive into it. Yep, that's what you need to do. There we go. Man, look at that. Just so safe, and that's what this is all about. I just want this to be as safe of an experience as possible. Now that the tree is down, we can use the excavator to scrape off all of that clay and dirt that's on the stump. and then we'll chop it off, take it to a pile. We'll stack all of the stumps in one pile and create like a nice animal habitat out of all of the stumps. Not even begin to express just how much safer it is to use the excavator, to use heavy machinery rather than using a chainsaw. These types of hardwood trees are known for barber chairing, which is not something that I know that much about, not something I want to experience at all, but it's a really good way to die when cutting down a tree. And by using the excavator, you completely eliminate that possibility. There's no possibility of dead branches falling on you. You're at a safe distance always, and you have so much control over taking this tree down in a nice, safe way. But then look at this tree behind me and look how much it is leaning. That thing looks like it's gonna come down at any moment, so might as well safely take it down with the excavator. I ended up getting a quote to handle all of this with a professional company, taking down all of the trees. And well, that quote ended up being $38,000. Yes, that is the state that our current economy is in with regards to construction right now, where quotes are just laughably ridiculous. We're doing it ourselves. Very thankful to have my dad, who is a true professional at this, helping me out. But then to just rent some equipment as affordably as we did, and to have a net savings of like $35,000, well, assuming we can get through it. That's one thing to find out. So with how beautiful things are looking, with the fall colors finally here, I thought it'd be a great opportunity to take a moment this morning and envision the future and take a look at our future plans. So if you guys can envision for a moment that stone wall in Italy that we built up, and just imagine taking all of that experience and bringing it back here and building out a massive stone bridge that crosses over this small little hill right here, over the creek, into the back section of the property. Just a stunning, stunning stone wall. And as you drive over that stone bridge, you'll see stone retaining walls holding back the landscaping as you approach the house.
I know that it can be kind of hard to picture right now, but what we're imagining is a long driveway that weaves through the trees with stone pillars and lights on top leading all the way up to the house.
So this driveway is gonna weave through the trees here, all the way around, arching back, finally arriving to the ultimate build site, which is far back there in the back section of the property.
So we listened to your advice and we have moved the build site to the highest point in the property back here. It's also the best spot. It's gonna have the best views. It's gonna be just gorgeous.
So I'm standing right now in the back section of the property, right where the building site is going to be. And I'm really excited for the architecture that we've chosen for the house. We're gonna go after kind of a vintage French countryside house, something with a tremendous amount of character. Like, it looks like it's just plucked out of a small Italian village or a French countryside home and plopped back here amongst all of the trees. So yes, all of this does mean that we will have to take down a couple of trees, but all of this lumber will be used to build the house. So what's really interesting is just how many bullets we've encountered cutting this lumber. Here's an example right here. This is probably, I would say, the 20th bullet that he's found cutting. Thankfully, the metal is soft enough that it doesn't ruin the blades, but clearly they were doing a lot of shooting on this property. So as he's milling all of this up, we're stacking it up with stickers to make sure that there's a 1-inch air gap surrounding all of the wood, because all of this needs to be drying over the next year. 1-inch wood needs about a year to dry fully, and we want to make sure it all dries properly and doesn't warp at all. We've been focusing mostly on taking down the trees, but this is what we have milled up currently. But then to come over here and look at our log pile, this right here is about half of what we've taken down so far. There's another pile over there. We're slowly working to mill everything up, and everything, including the scraps, will be saved to use for projects as well.
This is bush honeysuckle. Species-wise, okay, hickory,
Well, that was a really cool experience. I just spent the last couple of hours with a fantastic guy from the Department of Natural Resources, the Forestry Division. If you're not aware, there is in every state a forestry division of the Department of Natural Resources that will come out and walk your property with you and advise you on how properly take care of the forest or the woods surrounding your area. And that's what he did. He spent nearly 3 hours with me going through, educating me on all of the best ways of how to take care of this property. And I really wanted to put him on camera to answer some of your questions, answer some of my questions, but he didn't feel comfortable without getting the state's approval. So we kept him off camera, and then he was thrilled that I was going to be relaying the information to you guys. And his number one feedback was, we have to spend a lot of effort clearing the brush out. So all of the honeysuckle is a non-native invasive species that's really robbing a lot of the nutrients. It's actually quite bad for the animals around here. He called it a wildlife sink, I believe, where the animals will eat off of the honeysuckle, but they're actually burning more energy than they're getting from the calories of consuming the honeysuckle, and really needs to be eradicated 100%. So all of the brush clearing that you've been seeing us doing, he says, keep doing more of that and don't stop until it's all 100% gone. That's number one, the top priority. Then he did a brief survey of the land, taking note of all the different species of trees. We've got a plethora of sugar maple, which we're really excited to be able to tap that and to get maple syrup out of that. And then we have a lesser supply of hickory and oak, both white oak and red oak. And what he's seeing is a bit of an oversupply in this forest, and he's really suggesting that we weed back a little bit. He kept giving the analogy of a garden. If you plant a garden, you plant too many plants close together, they rob nutrients from each other. So the best thing to do in this forest is actually to prune things back a little bit. He was very pleased with the site that we chose for the house, because we'll be taking down mostly sugar maple, which there's too much of, and it's actually going to be opening up space for the white oak and the red oak and the trees that are actually better for the wildlife around here. And then beyond just the general education that he gave me, he was just so encouraging, kept saying over and over again how much of a pristine example of a forest this is with the amount of diversity. He did give me plenty of things to work on. If you guys want more information about that, I can talk about some of the things that he advised us more in future videos. I don't want to bore you if you're not interested in that, but if you do have a section of forest or woods, I definitely recommend reaching out to the Department of Natural Resources, having someone come out, because the education that they were giving me was just priceless. Heather just asked if she looks dumb in a helmet.
Yeah, I do.
It doesn't matter how you look. It matters about staying safe.
That's right.
We are keeping things very safe.
So once a tree comes down, then we're going to be splitting them into 8 to 10 inch sections so that we can then take back over to the sawmill so that we can mill those down into lumber that we can use. It was so great to hear from the forestry expert that we're actually doing a really good job. That was such an encouraging thing to hear. And it was so encouraging to know that he also thinks this forest is so beautiful and special, like we do, of course. But it's just so nice to hear that from an expert who sees forests all over the state, and it's very, very exciting. I'm really happy that this is where we decided to put the house. I'm really, really happy that we're actually doing everything we're supposed to be doing. It's really hard to know. There's so many different opinions out there about how to care for things like a forest. People think they know what's best, and we just always try to do our best. But to hear from him that we're actually doing a really good job is so encouraging.
So knocking the trees down is a pretty basic process of ripping out all the roots and basically a 180-degree section on this side of the tree, and then simply pushing it over. I'm finding it's best to drive into it. You've got more power in the tracks than you do in the boom arm. And then you've got to clean up all of the clay off of the roots. And then we're kind of cleaning them up and stacking them up into like little habitat brush piles. And then measuring down the tree stump and chopping it up into lumber. I didn't see the other excavator over there.
Did you hit that?
Just a little bit.
Oh no, whoopsie.
All you can do is laugh in circumstances like this. Paying attention to people, not machinery.
Yeah, people are the most
It's meant to take a beating. And it was just the tips of the leaves, but let's go look at it.
Okay. Oh no. Uh-oh.
Not a bit of damage. There's
Oh
no
no, that's not good. Oh no. What? It looks like it didn't go through a window or something?
No, because it's just the tips of the branches. It's not even scratched.
Well, here, let's pull it out of there.
Yeah, we should move it. I'm missing the other piece. All right.
It's very nerve-wracking, but it's also really cool to see the space clearing out because this is where our house is going to be, and it's really, really exciting. I think this is more so like where the driveway is going to be, but I don't know if we've gotten quite to like clearing out where the house is going to be, but I'm so excited. It's really, really encouraging to see the space starting to open up, take shape, and it's going to be great.
What's just silly is the amount of lumber we're going to have access to for the next several years. It's just really opening up the possibilities here, which is amazing. So as I'm cutting this up, we're kind of considering what we want to use it for, whether it's trim pieces or whether it's aesthetic beams. This guy's got a lot of potential for beams, so we're gonna cut it a little bit longer just to give us a little bit more options. I can see like cutting this up into 6x6s or maybe even like an 8x8. But I just can't get over the fact that like we're creating a lumber yard essentially. It's just wild.
So I'm not sure if Bradey has mentioned this or not, but the fall is actually a perfect time to be taking down trees. We were actually just talking with his dad last night, and we were talking about what happens if you take down trees in the spring when there's trees like the sugar maple who are going to just be pouring out sap. And so the spring is not the time you want to be taking down trees. So I'm very thankful that we're here at this time of year, that we can be taking down these trees in the fall. This is the best time to be doing this.
I know things look a little chaotic right now and it seems like a lot of activity and a lot of trees are coming down, but if you can just take a moment to envision this space opened up, bring some light in, oh man, it's gonna be just a stunning spot. Just wait and see. Well, that's a tremendous amount of progress for just a couple of days, and I think at the end of this week, we're gonna tally up the total amount that we've saved or made from milling our own lumber, and I think it's gonna be a surprising number, but at least for today's video, that's going to do it. Man, this place is just gonna end up being so special, but thank you so much for being here and supporting us, and we will see you in our next video. And I really need to get a haircut.